You've probably been told that if you're training for a marathon, half marathon, or even trying to get faster, you need to run 5, 6, or even every day of the week. But for many runners over 40, that advice is exactly why they keep breaking down. I'm Dr. Ray Peralta, physical therapist and run coach, and over the past 10 years, I've helped hundreds of runners get pain-free and hit PRs. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why 3 runs per week can be enough, even for a marathon. Yes, even for a full marathon, 26.2 miles, and how to structure it so you can run smarter, recover better, and stay pain-free. The problem many runners over 40 face is that most runners think that more mileage automatically means better fitness, right? They hear about their elites, their favorite elite runner, competitive runner who's running 90 miles a week, 100 miles a week, that they're running almost every day of the week. But after 40, your recovery capacity matters more than your ego, especially if running is not your full-time job. You already have a job outside of running, right? You work full-time outside of running. You have to take care of your family, kids, other responsibilities. And many runners stack too many runs without enough true recovery, right? So their easy runs become medium to hard junk miles. Eventually, they end up with overuse injuries that are common to running, right? Knee pain, IT band syndrome, hip pain, right? The Achilles, plantar fasciitis, and they keep having the same recurring injury every time they train for a marathon. Right. And specifically to the marathon, just because the small distances, yes, you could get hurt training for a 5K, but what happens with the marathon, a lot of times their mileage starts increasing. That's where the injuries really, those overuse injuries really start developing, especially when you start approaching over 40 miles per week, is when a lot of runners end up getting hurt. But most runners do not fail because their heart and lungs are weak, right? They fail because their muscles, tendons, joints, and recovery cannot keep up with the demands of running, with the stress of running. And here's this little picture here, running injuries, why they happen, right? It's usually too much load, whether it's too much mileage, too many days a week of running, too much speed, the terrain, and then is a mismatch with your body's capacity to handle the demands running, right? It's not strong enough. The tissue's not able to tolerate the load. You're not having enough rest, recovery, other factors in nutrition. Even stress and anxiety can impact your body's capacity to handle the demands of running. And if you want to copy this Google Doc, right, and you want to learn more about how to train smarter, run pain-free, and use a 3-run per week framework, I'm sharing inside my free running plan, my free school community for runners. Click the link in the description to join. So the steps to train smarter with 3 runs per week. Understand that running fitness is more than just cardio. It's not just about your heart and lungs. Although that is very important, that's not the only factor. Running fitness is just not just the aerobic engine. It includes your tissue tolerance, strength, mobility, recovery. And running creates a high impact every time your foot hits the ground, right? It's 2 to 3 times body weight. So if you're a 150 pounds runner, that's 300 to 450 pounds of force every time your leg hits the ground in terms of ground reaction force. Your heart may be ready for more miles before your knees, hips, and calves or Achilles are ready. That is why many runners get injured before they even reach their true aerobic potential, right? They show up either hurt before they even get to run a marathon, or they try to, finish the race anyways, even though their legs all on fire, they're in pain, or their shins are hurting. They kind of plod through the finish line, though it really kind of wrecked their body because they ignored the pain and didn't realize these other factors. Because running alone is a one-dimensional sport, right? You're just running straight ahead, running. There's other things you need to do to prepare your body to handle running. Again, you didn't get injured just because you didn't have the willpower to run. Right, you got injured because the stress keeps extending your body's ability to recover and adapt. Again, here are the factors for running per VO2 max, right? So your heart size, stroke volume, your heart rate, hemoglobin, muscle capillary density, lactate threshold, right? Your aerobic enzyme, buffering capacity, and then your mechanical efficiency, right? Your body build, your how your body's built in terms of muscle to body fat ratio, your elasticity, muscle fiber type. And then, yes, shoes do matter, but also you're doing the adequate preparation, the strength mobility. I want to talk about that in a moment. So give every run a job. If you only run 3 days per week, every run needs a purpose. You can't just wing it and just, half-ass your way through the training. Sure, you could do that, but it's not going to be the most enjoyable process for you to do a marathon where you're just winging it. So the run number 1 that I recommend is a speed or quality run, or intervals, VO2 max workouts, short repeats, help to improve your speed, power, and running efficiency. This should be hard but controlled, right? So you want to just go for, let's say, a repeat 800 meters and then gas out in the first few reps. You want to be able to sustain that work output for the entire workout. Quality run number 2 is the tempo or threshold run. This is where you train at lactate threshold or sub-threshold. Comfortably hard running builds endurance and your ability to hold faster paces. Great for the 5K, 10K, half marathon, and marathon. Pretty much all distances benefit from training for your lactate threshold, improving your threshold capacity. And then the long run, slower conversational pace builds aerobic endurance and time on feet. Can include marathon pace segments, depending on your goal and if you're a fitter runner there. If you're a complete beginner, right? If you're newer to running, you can start with just 3 easy runs a week, or then maybe 2 easy runs and 1 quality workout. Like it could be 2 easy runs and 1 tempo run, right? Or 2 easy runs and a long run. And again, for beginners, you can even do run walk method and do run walk 3 times a week. So don't feel that you have to do all these workouts if you're a beginner to running, or if you just want to do running for general fitness as well. But 3 runs per week does not mean, again, 3 random runs. It means 3 intentional runs. So I want to buff a myth, the idea that a long run should never exceed 30% of your total weekly mileage. When you're following this type of plan, a lot of critics will point out that, hey, but if you're training for a marathon and if your long run is, let's say, 20 miles, but your total miles per the week is only like 30 or 35 miles per week, that 20-mile long run represents 66% of the total long run mileage. However, for a low volume or low mileage training plan, that's okay because you're also still making up a lot of your fitness through the strength training and the cross training. Like, is there some validity to that? To an extent, if you're doing a high mileage plan, if you're running like 60 plus miles a week, 90 miles per week, then you're able to make it so your long run is closer to like under 20% of your total weekly miles because you're running so high mileage. But when you're doing a low mileage approach, a low volume approach, what I recommend, it's okay to do the 20-mile long run. Obviously, you have to build up to it. And this is where this research study comes up. How much running is too much? And in the study of over 5,200 runners, they found that a single long run, that was more than 10% of the longest run completed in the previous 30 days, significantly spikes the injury risk. So if you're trying to prevent injury, just be smart about your progressions. So in a 30-day window, don't go, let's say, from a 10-mile long run to like 15 miles within that 30-day window. Make sure you slowly ramp up. So, week to week, you're slowly increasing. Don't just go week 1, 10 miles, and then week 2, 20 miles, right? That's more than double, and that's going to really increase your risk of injury. So just all this to say, have a smart progression to your long run, and you'll be relatively safe. And as long as you're also doing the other things I'm going to talk about in a moment. So replace your junk miles with strength training. So strength training is not just optional for runners over 40 years old. I recommend it's non-negotiable, right? Really prioritize doing strength training at least 2 times per week. It improves force production, running economy, and helps protect your joints, tendons, and connective tissue. And, many runners either don't do strength training at all, or they do very light work, right? They just do light weights or light bands. All right. Unless you're a complete beginner or you're currently in, physical therapy rehab, you're in injury rehab. Once you're past the beginner phase or the rehab phase, you have to go a bit heavier, right? Because just doing light strength work is not enough for most runners long term. You need a progressive strength training. You need to do heavy lifting, explosive lifting, things like jumps, loaded carries, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, so heavy Bulgarian split squats, speed squats for faster strength movements, box jumps, all sorts of training modalities. However, you have to know how to progress it. If you're a complete beginner, just start light, moderate, heavy, work your way up. For most runners, I recommend just doing a single set routine, right? You train a muscle to momentary fatigue or momentary muscular failure, full body routine 2 times a week or 3 times a week. It could be a combination of body weight, machines, dumbbells, even body weight can be more advanced. So don't think that body weight is just for beginners. There's ways to make body weight more advanced as well. However, it is tricky. So at home, get a pair of adjustable dumbbells, get kettlebells, get some heavy bands, and you can even train from home as well. So most runners over 40 are not under running. They're just under strengthened. So strength training benefits for runners, improves your neuromuscular efficiency, your running economy, right? You use less energy for the same distance, improves your endurance performance, key for marathoners, right? You could hit new PRs, run faster for longer. Even for the shorter distances, even for the sprinters, it improves your muscle performance and gives you that extra power to sprint in the last part of a race, or you want to finish strong in a race. So use cross training to build fitness without more impact. So cross training lets you build up your aerobic fitness, right? Your aerobic endurance or capacity without pounding your joints. Some options include walking, brisk walking, incline walking, weighted walking, cycling, rowing, hiking, swimming, right? There's so many different variations out there. Just pick something that you'll do on a regular basis. This lets you train 5 days per week while only running 3 days per week. And then let's say doing 2 days of cross training. You can build your fitness without adding a necessary impact, right? Because you don't have to worry about adding more impact strength from running. Running's high impact. You could do something like incline walking and minimize some of the impact stress. This is especially helpful for older runners, those who are injury prone or keep having reoccurring injuries, or just those with limited time or recovery on the hands. You could just get a foldable bike, for example, at home and just hop on the bike just from the comfort of your own home. So you could do a stationary bike workout. So you're not replacing running with nothing. You're replacing junk miles with smarter training, both the cross training and the strength training. And step 5, respect recovery as part of the plan. Recovery days are not lazy days. Recovery is when your body adapts. Without recovery, workouts just become stress. Make sure you're eating and drinking enough in terms of fuel, or you're eating outside the run, but then also on long runs or doing the race itself. So anytime a long run's about over 2 hours or so, or for some people it's even over an hour. Anyway, you want to eat about 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. The faster you're going or the longer you're going to be out there, you might need closer to the 90 grams per hour. You're going to have to experiment with this to see what fueling strategy works best for you. But a lot of runners have found benefit in terms of performance and not hitting the wall at mile 20 by making sure they're just eating enough gels, carbs, snacks, drinks, whatever, at 60 to 90 grams per hour. Many runners plateau because they never let fatigue drop, right? You make sure you are getting enough recovery days so you're not always running on dead legs or heavy legs. Better recovery allows for better quality workouts so you could actually show up. It also helps decrease burnout as well, mental burnout as well. That's a bigger thing, factor why a lot of runners kind of get tired with the sport or drop off with their training. Recovery is not weakness. Recovery is performance variable. Here's a study on sleep quality. So a lot of times people sleep on sleep. Right? Poor sleep quality is associated with an increased risk of running-related injuries. In the study of 339 runners, they found that there's about a 36% increase risk of injury when you're sleep deprived. So make sure you're sleeping at least 7 hours per night. And yes, I know there's going to be those outliers, but I feel great on 6 hours per night. Are there genetic outliers? For sure. But for the majority of people, they feel better on 7 hours a night or more sleep. What happens when you train this way? So when you run 3 runs per week correctly, you can recover better between sessions, stay more consistent, reduce recurring aches and pains, right? Those common overuse injuries, improve your speed and endurance. You could actually run a pretty nice marathon time. I've actually had runners run sub 4-hour marathons, even around 3-hour marathons, even hit Boston qualifiers with just 3 runs per week. You can improve your endurance, keep training long enough to actually reach your goals so you don't burn out or feel like you just disappear. Like, oh, I'm just going to do a 16-week marathon block and then stop running for the rest of the year. You could be more consistent. This works especially well for runners over 40, busy professionals, parents, injury-prone runners, and runners stuck in that boom-bust injury cycle. So the best plan is not the one that looks the hardest on paper, right? The best plan is the one that your body can absorb, recover from, and repeat. So I currently have 2 spots open to work with me one-to-one to help you run pain-free, train smarter, and build a stronger body using what I call the athletic runner method. If you're curious, there's a link to apply in the description. First come, first serve. So the lessons learned: more running does not automatically mean better running, right? Mileage is a tool, not a badge of honor. Strength training, mobility, cross-training, and recovery are part of the plan. For many runners over 40, 3 runs per week is not a good downgrade, it is the upgrade. The goal is not to see how much running your body can survive. The goal is to build a body that can keep running pain-free for years, for the next decades. You're not failing behind because you only run 3 days per week. You may finally be training in a way your body can actually use and recover from. If you found this useful, hit the like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.